Hello and welcome to Five Questions with Dr. Fein. I am Mark Fein alongside the man who the show is named after. Dr. Louis Fein also happens to be my father. Dad, good to see you.
Good to see you. I want to start out by wishing everyone, the multitudes of people that tune into this podcast on a monthly basis, a very happy and a healthy new year. To
Would you
both of
like to
you.
do it one by one, everybody? Should
Well,
we
I
just...
said to both of them, so I think we're covered.
All right. Yeah, well, we did take January off. I think everybody was off for the holidays. We did one of our previous episodes. We put it in our newsletter and posted it, but we
Is
got
that
a new one
because there
for
was
you
such
this
a
month.
demand for it?
What's that?
Is that because there was such a demand for it?
That's
why
right. Exactly. Well, and I guess now we need to wish everybody a happy Valentine's Day. I got red on.
That's very good. Good. You're
Yeah,
ahead
I
of the
didn't plan it that way. I just
curve.
realized it as I said it.
Good.
All right, we are going to talk today about teachers' aides. We actually we send our newsletter and other information to schools all over the country, and we just sent an article and some information about teachers' aides, and we thought it'd be a good topic for the podcast. So I wanted to start by just asking you. I think a lot of people who are I'm in my 50s, you're a little bit older than me, but even people younger than I am may remember going to school and there's one teacher. And so they hear teachers say, what do you need? Why do you need another person in the classroom? Explain to people what a teacher's aide is and why there is a need.
Well, there are so many reasons, so many ways in which teachers' aides help with children's education. And the first part of an answer to your question is why now and why weren't there teachers' aides 20, 30, 40 years ago, is because the need is much greater today. Class sizes have just increased tremendously. I can tell you, I taught for I guess more than 30 years. When I first started teaching, my class sizes were about 18 students, 18 students. And then it went to 22, 24, 28. And the last term that I taught, I had 34 students. Two I had to let in because they had no other way of getting credit for that course before they graduated. But you cannot attend to the needs of 34 students as effectively as you can to the needs of 18 students. It's really numerics that dictate why there's a need for a second set of eyes and someone who can help in the classroom.
And even with private schools, I think people think, oh, private schools, they have much smaller class sizes. But a lot of the private schools we work with, because of money and financial situations and the amount of room and space that they have,
Yeah.
even the private schools now have bigger classes than maybe they used to.
We also are far more aware of the individual needs of our students. So I'm not saying that students today have more problems than students did many years ago, but we're more aware of them. And by being more aware of them, then we can address them, because you can't fix something until you bring to a conscious level the fact that a problem exists. So there are more students who will benefit from the individual attention of their teacher that we weren't even aware of 20 or 30 or 40 years ago being an educational necessity.
And these are people who don't just help hand out papers and things like that. These are educators who are really helpful and provide actual academic support for the teachers.
Absolutely. We're now aware that children have different learning styles. And so while some children are very capable of learning independently, others need far more of a hands-on approach if they're going to acquire the knowledge. And it's our job as educators to find out what's the entry point? How do we get the information from the book or from the teacher's background and experience into the child's brain so that the child can process it successfully, understand it, and then utilize it going forward.
And just having an extra set of eyes and ears in the classroom can be really helpful, right? I mean, in terms of children who may be struggling, and the teacher, again, because of the size of the classroom, may not pick everything up.
Exactly. You have a teacher's aide who's sitting in a room working with one student, and here's a student nearby saying, I don't get what do they want me to do? I don't get it. I don't get it. And then they have the ability to go over and to help that student individually, where the teacher may be dealing with a small group of students up near the front of the room. It increases our ability to reach more students successfully. And that's our goal. Our goal is to create an environment that gives every student the opportunity to be successful to the ultimate of their potential.
And really working in small groups is something that teachers like to do, and having another body in the classroom helps them do that, whether they have the aide do it, and it can be with students who maybe are struggling, or it could also be with students who maybe are ahead of the other, maybe the rest of the class, so they can separate them by having the extra person in there. They can do those kinds of things.
Right. We can give them advanced assignments that will keep them from being bored and turning off to what's going on in the classroom. Because while some students need repetition, others are bored by repetition because they don't need it. And so this way it enables us to create an educational program for each student based on their individual needs, far better than we could when we only have a teacher addressing the needs of 30 plus students.
All right, we haven't broken it down into the 5 questions really, but we have talked about what a teacher's aide is, how they help academically, some of the needs that currently exist in the classroom. Talk a little bit about the emotional support too, because I think we're much more aware of children's emotional needs, and again, having that extra person there can be so helpful.
Having a person who is interacting with the student on a different level and may not be perceived by the student as the same authority figure that they need to be hesitant about approaching might be far more willing to approach a teacher's aide who has sat and worked with them on a one-to-one basis for months during the school year. So it gives them another avenue to go and help them with problems that they may be having. Another area that again, as far as teachers' aides are concerned, it's not only academics and emotional support, but there's so many responsibilities for teachers now. The paperwork that teachers have to deal with today so far exceeds what had been done previously. It takes up a tremendous amount of teachers' time. Well, now we have someone else in the classroom who can do things, collecting papers, working on helping, being a liaison between the teacher and parents. There are so many other areas, supervising out in the playground, supervising at PE, supervising lunchroom, lunch duty. Then that frees the teacher up to do the work on in their preparation period, so that my daughter-in-law, who you know fairly well, comes home from school. She's a teacher, and she puts in hours and hours a week working on lesson plans and grading papers long after she's left school at the end of the day. And she's not alone. Most teachers are dealing with that. And so the more time that they have, the more help that they have during the time that they're in school, the more capable they will be having of having a life of their own when they leave school at the end of the day.
I mentioned the emotional part. I really thought it was interesting in the article we shared in that email we sent out. They made a great point about just another set of eyes and ears. Like if you see a kid sitting alone at lunch, looking
Mm, yeah,
unhappy,
yeah.
having that teacher's aide, and again, not that teachers can't do that. Of course they can. But if you're have now twice the amount of people or more people who can look for those kind of things and be helpful. Again, we're just trying to provide the best environment for the children that we can. And there's just no question that having another body there, more people there to help provides just such support.
Isn't there an old saying that it takes a village to raise a child? And in as far as education is concerned, it takes a team to educate a child. And the more people you have contributing positively to the child's education, the better chance a child has of succeeding.
There's another aspect that we haven't mentioned, and probably I don't know. You could tell me whether or not this may have been where the teacher's aide started, even. But I think with special needs children, it is almost you can't do the job without it.
Well, this is interesting because we're providing more services. When I say we, education is providing more services for children with special needs than they have ever before, and particularly in the private school and charter school communities, because there's a need for these children to have their educational needs addressed as well. And some of the children need one-on-one direction and supervision, and you can't have a class with 4 children with special needs and have a teacher work individually with all 4 of them and at the same time teaching the rest of the class from the front of a classroom. It doesn't work that way. So
Right.
the more professionals we have in a school environment, the better we will be able to address the specific needs of each student in our classrooms. And I don't know how we're doing for time, but one thing that I've spoken at, I don't know, to thousands of teachers around the country doing workshops for them. And the point that I always like to make is that 90% of the children that come through a teacher's classroom are going to learn. They're going to learn, and not because of the special abilities of that particular teacher, but 10% of them. 10% of them need the individual attention that that teacher or another educational professional can provide for them. And those 10%, that 10% of the population, it's life-changing for them. And in order to have the time to do that, that's a tremendous advantage that we have when we can have teacher aides in the classroom, giving teachers the time to deal with the individual needs of their students.
Now, again, do this podcast every month, and we really don't do it to advertise United Testing Service, which, of course, is the company that we are a part of. But this is a big part of what we do. I think it's worth mentioning that, we do help with staffing with schools, and for a lot of schools, especially the private schools, the charter schools, it's difficult to hire full-time staff that are, have all the benefits and that. So by using our services, you can have contractors who are then able to fill these roles at a more
Affordable.
cost-effective way.
Yep, exactly. Yes. And this has evolved over many years based upon the need that schools are beginning to address. They started addressing it a number of years ago, but it keeps on growing because the need keeps on growing. And whatever we can do to help, that's why we're here. And it's nice for me to look in the mirror and know that there are people out there working with us who are helping literally thousands of students around the country every day. Um, and I'm selfish enough to feel the benefits of the work that they're doing.
And of course, I've had the website down at the bottom of the screen on and off throughout the podcast today. We've got our names with our emails on there as well. You can always reach out to us if you think we can be of help to your school. But before we go, we always got to get Lou's Law. And so what is Lou's Law for the day?
Lou's Law for the day. Let's see. Well, I think I've noticed something that's in all my years become very apparent to me. It seems that the luckiest people in the world are those who are the best prepared. So there appears to be a correlation between the amount of work you do to prepare yourself for success and the amount of success you are, quote, lucky, unquote, enough to achieve.
I like it. Yeah. And it's sometimes you think it's unfortunate that you have to do all the work and prepare in order to get lucky. I wish it didn't have to be that way sometimes, but yeah, it seems to work out that way. Great stuff. Again, thank you for joining us on 5 Questions with Dr. Fein. Dr. Fein, as always, it's a pleasure.
My pleasure. And thanks, sir. People who are tuning in and listening. And if there's any way at all that you think that I can be of help, please reach out to me.
All right. We'll see you next time.